Just think of any playing card.
Oh.
In this video, I will reveal Dynamo's Telekinesis card trick. Here's a quick recap of what happened. Dynamo began the trick by handing a deck of cards to Keith Lennon to shuffle, then asked him to place the squared deck at the center of the pool table. He then told him to clear his mind and think of any playing card. Dynamo looked into his eyes, and without touching the deck, the entire deck spread by itself on the table. He then rested his hands on the spread, and suddenly a card shot out, which was the exact card Keith was thinking of. So, how did Dynamo pull this trick off? Here's the secret. Although it appears that the footage begins with Dynamo handing the deck to Keith to shuffle and place at the center of the pool table, but in reality the initial part is missing. Before that, Dynamo had Keith select a card from a spread while he was holding the deck. That selection was a force, and he forced the 5 of spades, then had Keith place it back anywhere in the deck. Once the deck was squared in Dynamo's hands, that's where the visible footage begins, right as he hands it to Keith to shuffle. So when Dynamo later asks Keith to clear his mind and think of a card, it looks like he could have thought of any card, but in reality that selection had already been made and edited out. Now, forcing the 5 of spades was important because the deck that later spreads on the pool table was prepared to shoot out that exact card. But wait a minute, you might be wondering, if Keith shuffled the deck and placed it on the table himself, how could it be gimmicked without him noticing? That's where another jump cut takes place. Pay attention to the deck right after Keith places it on the table, and then after the cut. Look at the size and how it's squared up. During that cut, Dynamo switches the original deck for a second deck hidden in a servante behind the table. The deck he switches in is gimmicked using 2 concepts. The first is the electric deck. The cards are linked together with a thin, elastic thread, which allows the deck to spread by itself when tension is applied. The second concept is built into that same deck, where 2 cards sandwich the 5 of spades between them. The card is held under tension by elastic and secured with adhesive, which keeps it pulled inward. Only when that adhesive is loosened does the elastic release and shoot the card out. The deck is also connected with strings attached to the top and bottom cards, running to opposite sides of the table. When the string is pulled, Dynamo just times it with his hand gesture. This doesn't require an assistant and can be done with an invisible thread retractor reel, like the ones used in silk magic tricks. Once the deck is fully spread, Dynamo places his hands near the center and subtly pulls the cards apart while slightly moving his hands away. That loosens the adhesive holding the 5 of spades in place. The moment it releases, the elastic tension shoots the card out. That also explains why the number of visible cards in the spread don't add up to 52. It looks closer to around 30 to 33 cards, because an electric deck with all 52 cards would be a lot thicker. Since the 5 of spades is sandwiched between 2 cards, that 3-card stack becomes relatively thicker, which is why you'll notice a slight clumping in the center of the deck while the rest of the spread remains even. The 5 of spades is the only examinable card, while the rest of the deck isn't, because it's connected with elastic and strings. That's why Dynamo immediately squares the deck, places it closer to himself, and walks away. Behind this mask, only the truth remains till we meet again.